Communications which the chairman and or the chief exec have to make. I need to make?
Thank you, Chairman. I have just one item of correspondence to report to you, and this is from the Right Honourable Mark Spencer MP. Members will recall at the last meeting you asked me to write to both of our constituency MPs in relation to the matter of remote council meetings, and in particular to extend those. I've had a response back from Mark Spencer. I won't read all of the letter to you, but just the most pertinent paragraph, which reads as follows. I disagree with the need for the continuation of remote meetings. Having served on 2 local authorities and now in the House of Commons, I understand the value of personal contact with colleagues. Such personal connections and face-to-face interaction delivers better results, better governance and better policy making. Our constituents are best served when we can hold administrations to account with forensic scrutiny, which without doubt is best done in person. And then Mark goes on to say that he has shared his correspondence with Robert Jenrick. So that's for your information, members.
Thank you. Thank you. The only communication I would like to make is since we last met, whenever that was, I think we've all lost count when we last met, we have 3 new councillors who have joined this district. They are Tim Wildgust, Simon Haynes and Jack Kellis. So welcome to you all, and I hope you enjoy the time that you have on this council. It's great fun and it's lovely to be a part of it, so welcome. Communications which the leader of the council and committee chairman may wish to make. Councillor Lloyd.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just one from me, if I may. I'm sure most councillors are aware through the media or their own residents. We've had, yet again, a series of incursions of illegal encampments, as they're properly referred to, travellers taking up position on play areas and open space. And I think if people have seen the media or otherwise, or the video communication we've put out as a council, I hope there's an empathy of an understanding of the law in that it may have best intentions in mind, but doesn't always best represent those residents, in that we can only move people on from one site at a time and not prohibit wider access, so it's becoming a repeated issue. As I've said, this isn't the first year, it's one of several, and what we have learned on this occasion through Cedar Avenue and the Leisure Centre car park is where we do some work on, if we call it target hardening, it makes sites more difficult to encroach onto, and or one may be able to prove criminal damage when people have sought to make that access. To that extent, Madam Chairman, somebody's dialing in. I would just like to give intent and proper notice that a report will come to Policy and Finance in September, seeking to fully and properly apply funding to these remedial.
Sorry, it's me. I can't switch the thing off. Yes, I'll put it in a charity box.
On the subject of incursions, we'll be looking to apply proper funding to this. What's necessary in the meantime is that our good colleagues in the relevant sections are identifying the sites that are either both most at risk or have been most frequently visited, and bringing forward a schedule by priority. I think it's important they bring up some early schemes on those which they're looking to do, and that we go out to those communities, because the majority of the areas are very close to residential estates, and liaise, engage, possibly even consult as best we can with those communities on what issues we might bring forward, because none of us want to make these sites unpleasant or aesthetically vile to those that live there all year round. Hopefully it'll be a win-win, and we can include some work around biodiversity and trees, as is our priority as a council, but that work will be undertaken in such a way that we can press go autumn at the latest, which obviously is the best time for some planting, as is winter in the case of trees, and have the measures in place and ready for next year. We may have further visits in the meantime, but at least have as much as we can ready for next year. So, Madam Chairman, I wanted to make it by way of an announcement in that the report, to an extent, and forgive me if this seems improper, I hope councillors won't think so, will formalise works that we're requiring begin now, and enable us to take a decision on things. But, Madam Chairman, it's an early indication there will be support for that financial application and for those activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Roger Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chairman or Chairman this evening, and may I congratulate you on being voted in as Vice Chairman of this Council, and may I say I probably look forward to being able to work with you next year if I become the Chairman of another place.
Excellent.
So we have some fun there. Yeah. Now I rise, Madam Chairman, just to remind members or tell members that we successfully opened the Dukeries swimming pool on the beginning of this month of July, and Rebecca Addington, the local Olympic swimmer, came and opened it there and actually had a swim with all the young children there, so it was really nice to see. And we had a weekend of free swimming. And now the pool is being enjoyed by many people of Ollerton and the surrounding area. We have now already had 123 new junior members, 60 new adult members, and over 60 summer members on a special promotion, which we hope we convert into permanent membership in the future. This is all helping improve the health and well-being of the local community and shows a Conservative administration spending money and improving lives for all people across the district. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Tim Wendels.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and first I'd like to congratulate you on your appointment as
Thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to inform members of an urgency decision which recently been taken following the urgent request from the Home Office and Ministry of Defence seeking support to resettle locally employed Afghan staff who supported us in Afghanistan and are now at increased risk as NATO forces withdraw. I'm pleased to report that we've agreed to accommodate 2 families in Yerk and Sherwood, grant funded by the MOD, and using our in-house expertise, which has been built up during the successful Vulnerable Persons Resettlement Scheme, we'll be working with Nottingham City Council to lead on delivery of the resettlement across the county. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you. And any other chairman have anything to add? No? Fine. We don't have any questions from members of the council or public, so we'll move on to item 10, which is to receive any petitions, and we don't have any of those either. So now we move on to agenda item 11, the political composition of the council and allocation of seats on committees, and I call on Councillor Lloyd.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. May I please move the recommendation at item 4 on agenda page 13, which is the numeric allocations as appear at the appendix, and those names have accordingly been supplied by relevant groups and persons in order to move that forward. May I also please, Sue, I forgot to say, congratulate you,
Thank you
on your elevation and join you in recognising our 3 new councillors, but also properly, I know Councillor Dawn was recognised at the meeting previously, but Councillor Brown has been a long-standing colleague here and in another place, and I know did work hard for that ward. She has 2 successors that will do the same, I'm certain, but thank her for her work in the past also.
Thank you. Councillor Girling, do you need to say anything on this item? No? You seconded?
Sorry, second.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else wish to speak? No? Right. Take a vote. Can we have a vote on that, please? Any against? Any abstentions? I think we're there. Thank you. Appointments for 2021-22. Councillor Lloyd, is that you again?
Probably, Madam Chairman, it's often that way. I believe these have been circulated. I'm prepared, therefore, just to propose them as have been circulated.
Thank you. Councillor Girling.
Second, Chairman, I reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. Anybody wish to speak on this matter? No? Everyone happy? Right, we'll take it. Pardon? Those in favour, yes. Can I have those in favour, please? Anyone again? We're unanimous. Right, good. Right, number 13. the appointment of representatives on outside bodies and council-owned companies. Who is oh, Councillor Lloyd again. Mind, you're busy this evening, Councillor Lloyd.
Yes, indeed, Madam Chairman. I'm getting decided ear chafe as well. May I move the recommendation at item 4, and again, these having been circulated, the relevant detail pertain to them.
Right. Councillor Girling, do you have to second that?
I second that and reserve my right to speak, Chairman.
Anybody wish to speak on this matter? No? Is everybody in favour? Any against? Any abstentions?
That's great.
Carried. Thank you. Rule number 4.8, appointment of a panel. I have Councillor Lloyd for this.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The recommendation requires a proposition, as I understand. I'm not sure the panel's ever met in my lasting knowledge, but there we are. Previously, we have put the leaders of groups onto this panel. I would recommend that we continue that. Nothing personal to Councillor Dobson in that respect. I'd be proposing, therefore, it's pretty much the same, that it's the leader, the deputy leader, and then the leaders of the Labour and the Liberal Democrat groups, respectively.
Councillor Girling.
Thank you, Chairman. I second that and reserve my right to speak.
Anybody wish to speak on this matter? No? Right, can we take a vote on this, please, then, everybody? Unanimous. Thank you. Item number 15, appointment of non-voting independent member on the Audit and Accounts Committee and extraordinary meeting of the committee. I think I refer to Councillor Michael on this.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, congratulations on your appointment as Vice Chairman of the Council.
Thank you.
As members can read in the report papers, the recruitment process approved by Council on the 9th of March 21 has now been completed, and therefore I now recommend to Council recommendation A on page 18, the appointment of Stuart Turner to the position of non-voting independent member on the Audit and Accounts Committee be approved. And as members will also read in the report, an extraordinary meeting of the Audit and Accounts Committee is required in order to facilitate the approval of the Statement of Accounts for 2021 financial year and subsequent publication by the 30th of September 21, so as to comply with the new timetable. So, Chairman, I also recommend to Council recommendation B on page 18 that an extraordinary meeting of the Audit and Accounts Committee be scheduled for the 22nd of September 2021. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody wish to speak to this item? No?
Chairman, I second the recommendation. Thank you.
Oh, right, thank you, sorry. Anybody wish to speak to this item? No? Right, let's take a vote on it. Unanimous, I understand. Item number 16, appointment of the monitoring officer. Councillor Mrs. Crowe, I think you're speaking to this.
Thank you. First of all, congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you, Rita.
You'll enjoy it.
Thank you.
I'd like to formally move the recommendation at 5 on page 19 that Sue Bierman be appointed as the Council's monitoring officer with effect from the 1st of August. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. Michael.
Thank you, Chairman. It gives me great pleasure to support the recommendation. Second the recommendation.
Thank you. Can anybody wish to speak? Councillor Dobson.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to congratulate you on your job because you seem to be doing quite well at this job, don't you? Wearing a chain and chairing meetings. So well done. Have a good year, and I'm sure you will support Penny Rainbow. I'd like to support this wholeheartedly. Sue Bierman, I've known her for a long time. First of all, she was here, then she was at Nottingham County, then she's back again. She's a lady and an officer who's well worthy of this position. And I hope everybody realises just how excellent she is. Her qualifications don't need any explanation, but as a solicitor and as a monitoring officer, she will be first class. So I just wanted to say my piece about Sue Bierman. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Maureen. Right, does anybody else wish to comment on this? No? Right, let's take a vote. All those in favour?
Okay, that's unanimous.
Wow, good, we're doing well. Do we need to call Sue back
I
in?
think she's seen me waving.
Has she?
Yes.
Good. Thank you, Sue. Agenda item number 17, adoption of Model Member Code of Conduct. Councillor Blaney, I think, is speaking to this.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. As you can see from the report, the Local Government Association, following a lengthy consultation, produced a model member code for councils, and this was considered by the Councillors' Commission. And the objective of the new code is that it should be written in plain English, understandable to members, councillors, officers, and the public alike. Now, one can see from the report there are a number of differences between the Council's existing code and the new model code, and those are set out in paragraph 3 on page 21. And in particular, it extends the circumstances in which the model code applies. Currently, it is only when you're acting in the capacity of a councillor, but it's now extended to be when you are claiming to act or give the impression of so acting as a councillor. So it is absolutely right that those who are dealing with councillors understand the circumstances. Also, I point out in terms of the changes, 331 on page 22, the respect and bullying are now set out separately in terms of considerations. And finally, the impartiality of officers is enshrined even more forcefully, and the councillors shouldn't compromise or attempt to compromise the impartiality of officers. I'm sure that's something with which we all agree. Now, whilst the model code goes further than the District Council's current code, there are some obligations in our code which are not in the LGA's model code, and those are set out in paragraph 4, and the intention is that we should incorporate those as well, so that our model code goes slightly further than the LGA's in that respect. And therefore, Madam Chairman, I'd like formally to recommend that the members approve the adoption of the Member Code of Conduct for this council, as set out in Appendix A of the report, to apply with immediate effect. And perhaps with your indulgence, Madam Chairman, after we've determined this item, you'll allow me to say a few more words.
Of course.
Thank you.
Of course. Councillor Lee.
Chairman. All working chairman's not a show. By the way, Chairman, and I second this. Congratulations on your position, and I second this and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. Anybody wish to speak on this? Yes, Councillor Gough.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I do recommend the bullying, harassment and discrimination, which is very heartily on the agenda, so I welcome that, and I'm grateful that's been put on. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak to this? Councillor Lee, do you wish to speak again now or later? Right, okay, thank you. Right, can we take a vote on this, please? All those in favour?
Yeah, that's unanimous.
Thank you, that was unanimous, and Councillor Blaney, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you for your indulgence. Members will have noted that that was the last of very many reports that this council has considered over the name of Karen White, our outgoing monitoring officer. And I'd just like to say a few words about Karen, because Karen, I am told, started her local government career at Gedling in 1982, and that 6 years later she moved to South Kesteven, 4 years later, she moved to Mansfield, and 7 years later, she came here in 1999 to Newark and Sherwood District Council. What puzzles me, Karen, is it took you 17 years to realise that Newark and Sherwood was your natural home. And you've been with us for the last 22 years and a very valued member of staff and a friend to so many of us in this council. Now, you are, I understand, a model employee, and I'm told that because your personnel file is remarkably thin. So there are no embarrassing stories, no scandals in there. So that's why a certain officer has described you to me as a model employee. It's either that, because your role was expanded in 2007 to include HR, and therefore you had the opportunity of clearing out your file before you left. But I certainly have enjoyed working with you. I worked particularly closely with you when I was leader of the council, when we were working on SHLUP, the Strategic Housing Liaison Panel. I don't know how on earth we came up with that acronym, but we did. And I really did appreciate your wise advice and your sound judgment. And I have recognized over the years that you have a little idiosyncrasy perhaps, that if one says something to you and you are not sure or don't agree, I get in response, yes. And what yes means is, I'm not really sure, so that therefore needs some further examination and clarification. But that SHLUP led to a house building programme for this council of some 350 homes over the 5-6 year period. And I think that is a particular achievement of which you can be proud in helping to deliver. It's a lot of work, and the results will be there as a lasting testimony. Now you are retiring, and you go with all the best wishes of every one of us here. We will miss you. We look forward to working with Sue. She has big shoes to follow, everybody says that. But the one thing I do say to you is enjoy retirement. I've certainly enjoyed my retirement from a business life. You enjoy your retirement from local government. We think you will, and we hope you have a very long and a very happy one. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Councillor Lawton. And who else?
Can I follow on really from Roger, Karen? Just a big thank you really on behalf of all the members here, particularly the older members, and particularly those members that are always getting into trouble, for your advice and support over the years. You've just about joined when I joined really, so we've both been here that length of time. It's about time, I suppose, I retired as well, and we all wish you, you know, health and happiness in your whatever you wish to do in the future. What people don't realise is that during Karen's time of tenure, we had some. Well, some of you do realise, but we had some significant flooding events. Some major events happened in the Newark and Sherwood District Council area. And Karen was an integral part of ensuring that, that these events were dealt with efficiently and professionally, but also that the recovery in these areas was carried out both professionally and efficiently as well. And to that end, you know, the whole of Newark and Sherwood District Council area owe you a debt of gratitude on behalf of those flood victims that were sadly impacted with those events. And that includes Loudon, which was flooded 7 times in 10 years, you know, and Karen is in there supporting those communities. You know, I watched firsthand, for example, in Sutton-on-Trent when we had a flooding event. You know, I was on the phone every 5 minutes. Karen, can I have this? Can I have that? Can I have the other? You know, and Karen was in there shouting and supporting the elected representatives. So I was also involved with SLUP as well, with Roger. You basically did all the organising. We just pushed the relevant buttons, and you organised all those officers to ensure that we started delivering council houses for the residents that we represent. And that is a major sort of had a major impact on our residents. So I wish you all the best. And, you know, I'm sure whatever you do in the future will be successful. And on behalf of all the members here and the residents of Newark and Sherwood District Council, I'd just like to say thank you.
Councillor Mrs Michael.
Thank you, Chairman. I feel very honoured tonight to have the opportunity to say these words to Karen. I sat and thought at breakfast time this morning what I was going to say, and I chose 4 words. The first word was approachable. Karen has always been an officer who was approachable. She would always make that time to give you. Understanding. Karen would always listen and be understanding of what you were telling her, no matter how busy she was. Advice. Karen would never tell you what to do, but instead would suggest to you what she would do herself if found in that situation. I personally found your advice invaluable on many subjects. And the final word was achievements. Only Karen can list these, as during her time with Newark and Sherwood, I know Karen has many achievements to her credit. Karen has been an officer who set her stall out, then just got on with the job in hand, usually succeeding. In recent years, only one has to look at the housing programme she has been involved with. Karen, you can be proud of what you have done for this council, and I personally thank you and wish you an enjoyable and well-earned retirement. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Peacock.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to say a few words about Karen. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate you on taking over the Vice Chair of the Council.
Thank you very much.
And I'm sure you'll enjoy coming here supporting Penny. Karen, I suppose I'd like to thank you for your warmth, your kindness, and your patience. You do make people feel at ease when either over the phone or in person, and that's a real attribute. I've tried on many occasions to fall out with you. We've had our disagreements. I've tried so many times to want to fall out with you, and you make it impossible to do so. The changes of the council, I think it was said that you started in 1999. I was a councillor in 1999, along with several other colleagues around the room. The transformation of this council from 1999 to where we are now is amazing, and you've overseen that, and that's part of the legacy that you leave for the council for now and also for years to come. So I'd just like to finally say that I hope you have a really happy long retirement. You forget about the council, and I really hope I can fall out with Sue.
Thank you. Councillor Gurney.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I think I should start by saying sorry. I think I might be somebody that's given you a lot more work than you should have had, really. So I apologise now in public to you for that. But actually, Karen, I think the yes, I probably heard more than most, and it is a telltale sign. Never take up poker, because we'd know that you had a bad hand or a good hand. And I think something that's not been mentioned there is the fact that you oversaw that Newark and Sherwood homes come into house, and all the difficulties that had in terms of managing councillors through that, and also the independent people. And again, it just shows your calmness that you brought to things like that, that helps smooth those sorts of things through. So I'd like to thank you for that. I haven't known you anywhere near as long as the others. I think we've never fallen out anyway, because I think Councillor Peacock's right. You are very difficult to fall out with. Sue, unlucky. I just think, you know, I just hope you have a fantastic time, and I hope you don't forget us, and that every now and then you come and see us and gloat over your retirement. Thank you very much, Karen.
Thank you, Councillor Gannon. Does anyone else wish to speak? Well, I think we have to take a vote on this, because I don't think we've actually taken a vote on the model code of... We have. Have we? Yeah. Right, I must have missed it. From the chair, Karen, I would like to wish you all the very best. You've always been most approachable, and I look forward to working with Sue. Thank you. Karen, would you like to say a few words? No pressure.
I feel as if I ought to, really, because you said such lovely things to me, and I know this is your meeting, and officers don't normally get to speak apart from the Chief Executive, who gets the opportunity. But I would like to say that I have enjoyed my 22 years at the council, and there have been lots of changes since 1999, all for the better, I think. I think it's a great council to work for. And actually, contrary to what you may think, you've all been a pleasure to work with, every one of you. No. I think we have such a high quality of members, and such a good, respectful and productive working relationship between officers and members. So thank you very much for making my job very easy. Thank you.
Councillor Lloyd.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. It's not quite finished yet, Mrs. White. I do apologise. Can I echo and resonate all the comments that have been made with regard to all the stoic and hard work you've done, Karen, not least working with us. And I certainly know that I've learned much about you as an individual in this time that I've worked with you as the leader. People may not realise that Karen's aspirations post-retirement are to undertake outdoor swimming adjacent to the golf course where another director plays, which could be interesting in itself, and to take up some form of motorbiking I've not quite understood. The revelations are continuous, and I do, of course, recall, Mrs. White, that you have a proximity to a leader of a different council, distinct from my own, with whom I think you tread the boards, you act and you sing, whereas with me, I think you walk the line, it's a song and dance, and you act up, possibly. But there we are. It's all been said. We're going to miss you enormously, Karen, as an individual and as an officer. Thank you so much. And I have to put this back on there. We do have a token of our regard and thanks for you. It's a card.
Chippendale.
Nominations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
They're in the sun now.
Oh, is that bad?
Well, they're in the sun.
Oh, okay.
Let's put them where they're not in the sun. Thank you, everyone. I was just advising they're put in out of the sun, else they may well wilt over the next so long. Right, moving on to agenda number 18, making the Bulcote Neighbourhood Plan. Councillor Tim Wendels, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. First of all, I'd like to thank and congratulate Parish Councillor Nick Leaves and the team at Bulcote, who've put a huge amount of effort into putting together the Bulcote Neighbourhood Plan, and have done an absolutely fantastic job. They had to wait an additional year for the referendum due to COVID, but it was worth the wait because I note a fantastic result of approximately 90% of the village in favour of the plan, which I think does indicate how strong and good document it is. So I have pleasure in moving the recommendation at paragraph 5 on page 45 to formally make or adopt the Bulkett Neighbourhood Plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yep, like Tim said, I'd like to congratulate Bulkett Parish Council and their members for all the hard work they do with forming this parish plan and formally second the proposal. And say it's really nice to see another parish council again trying to set out its own administration and how they want to run their local community.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Anyone else wish to speak to this item? No? Okay. Take a vote on it. Yeah? Everybody looked hesitant. I thought I'd done something wrong.
Any against?
Any against? Any abstentions?
That's carried.
No. Thank you. That's carried altogether. Right, number 19, we're moving on to the notice of motion. Can I call upon Councillor Peacock, please, to move this motion? Councillor Peacock.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, for allowing me to present the motion to Council. Before I go on, just so members are aware, I am a proud member of the Mine Workers Pension Scheme, but I've checked with our Democratic Services and had conversations to the effect that it's my view that this particular motion isn't going to make me a rich man. It's not going to impact me in any way. Certainly not this on its own. So the motion won't impact on the value of my pension funds at all. And I feel comfortable proposing a motion and putting it towards the council on behalf of the thousands of retired miners across the district. The Business, Energy and Industry Strategy Committee report has shone a light on the history, present and future of the surplus sharing arrangements between the Mine Workers Pension Scheme and the government. Its recommendations for the present and future could not be clearer.
Councillor Peacock, could you just talk closer to your microphone, because you've got your back to most people and they probably won't be able to hear you very well. Okay, thank you.
The Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy Committee report has shone a light on the history, present and future of the surplus sharing arrangements between the Mine Workers Pension Scheme and the government. Its recommendation for the present and future could not be clearer and should not be ignored. The committee recommend that the £1.2 billion from the investment reserve should be returned to the scheme immediately, and that no further surpluses should be taken from the scheme until such a time that the government have made contributions to aid the scheme. The truth of the matter, though, is that the government never has and never will need to aid the scheme. The scheme has weathered the storm of the Great Recession, austerity and the ongoing pandemic. Throughout those periods, it has retained strong surpluses. Furthermore, the scheme has sadly lost 100,000 beneficiaries over the last 10 years, reducing the scheme's liabilities and further improving its sustainability. The scheme currently has 134 beneficiaries, with roughly 8,000 members passing away annually. The continued loss of beneficiaries is the reason why this is absolutely the right time for the government to review the surplus sharing arrangements in line with the BEIS committee recommendations, allowing the trustees of the MPS to plan for the future of the scheme. The committee is exactly right to say that government should not be in the business of profiting from mine workers' pensions. I'm glad the leader of the council has agreed to support this motion and is willing to support local former miners and their families in getting a fair deal. The only money that has ever been put into the scheme has come from former miners. Former miners who have toiled in harsh, wretched and dangerous conditions over decades. Their service and sacrifice has led to the shortening of their lives, certainly to a shortening of their active lives. The government should not be in the business of profiting from such service. And I'm glad that David recognises this and is willing to press for fairness. We have heard a lot from the government about levelling up. Most of the people who will benefit from the committee's recommendations live in the most disadvantaged areas across the country, and some of the most disadvantaged areas in our district, areas which we as a council have identified within our own community plan as disadvantaged, and areas where we seek to reduce health inequalities and improve life chances. Returning the £1.2 billion from the investment reserve to the MPS will have an instant impact, boosting the average pension from £84 per week to £98 per week. Allowing the trustees of the MPS to use their discretion about how they distribute all of the scheme surpluses will have an even bigger impact and would certainly contribute to the government's aim of levelling up in our areas of disadvantage. Growing up and living in a colliery village, I've seen former miners and their families struggling to get by. I can recall vividly from my days down the pit, regularly passing by an old miner finishing the night shift as I began the day shift. The proud old miner was bent double from decades of working on the coal face, his health decaying at a terrible rate. His colleagues would cover for him, lightening his load. Unfortunately, he had to keep working until his retirement because his pension would be a fraction of his wages. His retirement came, and within months, he sadly passed away. His bereaved widow had to face the world alone to survive on 2/3 of a pension that was already a fraction of the old miner's wage. There are countless tragic stories in a similar vein within our coalfield communities, which makes it all the more disappointing to hear the Chancellor reject the findings of the report out of hand, particularly as the BIS committee is a cross-party committee, and it is clear that the opinions about the future of the MPS do not run along party lines. The Chancellor's rejection of the findings should not be the end of this. Continued government profiteering is unethical, unnecessary and unjustified. As elected members, we have a duty to fight for those that we represent, and we should always fight against injustice. I hope all members across the Council can support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peacock. Councillor Lloyd.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'll second the motion and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. Do we have speakers on this item at all? Anybody wishing to speak? Councillor Brazier.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yeah, I work very closely with the NOTS NUM and the ex-retired Miners Association. I see the impact that a lack of a decent pension has on ex-mine workers. A lot of them have pneumoconiosis and COPD. Their health is declining massively. Their widows live on a week-to-week budget because they have no savings. They have only their husband's pension. It's devastating. I was speaking to my dad today, asking him how much he gets. He gets £69 a week from his mine worker's pension. The £84 that they get on average is still less than what sick pay is. Sick pay is currently around £96. So an increase of £14 would bring them to be in line with the average sick pay of someone still in work, which I don't think is unreasonable. What I do think is unreasonable is the government carrying on taking 50% of the surpluses whilst not putting anything into the scheme. When members of the Mine Workers Pension Scheme had their vibration white finger settlements made, that came straight out of their own pensions. It wasn't government money, as the government tried to make out. It was straight out of their pension schemes. So it was only money that they already should have been receiving. So for me, it's important that we support miners. Half of our district is former coalfield areas. And unfortunately, the miners aren't going to be here much longer. Their widows aren't going to be here much longer. So, except for Paul, obviously, he's going to outlive us all. But it's time that the government took action, gave the miners what they rightfully deserve, and I hope that everyone in the council supports this motion. Thank you.
Councillor Goff, did I see your hand go up? Yes, thank you.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairman. I just feel strong about the miners because they work all hours, day and night, in difficult times, with their children, never seeing their children from day to dusk. And they suffer health problems over the years. People don't realise how much suffering they have to go through with the dust and the fumes and so forth. And they put their lives on the line. So I wholeheartedly support the miners. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Anyone else wishing? Councillor Mrs Dobson.
Chairman, I read this motion and swallowed a couple of times. I don't think anybody really realises just how little the mining community got. I think everybody thought they got a lot more. If the late Richard Alexander was still with us, he would be standing up and supporting this. I know he would, because that's what he did when he was the MP for this area, and that's when we included Ollerton and everywhere. And he stood up for the mining community to the detriment in many ways of his own career as an MP, because he never progressed any further. So I would like to think that Richard is up there thinking about it. I'm pleased that David is seconding this motion, and I hope each and every one of us will swallow and will realise how little they get, and perhaps they do deserve, and we should all be jumping up and down and saying to government they deserve more and you should stop taking it away from them. Because I'm very happy not to have anything. But, you know, at the end of the day, why have government been taking it away? It's not necessary. Everybody might say, oh, well, it's necessary now. But, sorry, I think it needs our full support from all of us. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to this item? No? Councillor Lloyd, would you like to come back?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And I think it's been recognised it is important to iterate that this is very clearly a non-partisan motion. And I welcome that. And I thank Paul and the Labour Group for inviting myself, on behalf of the Conservative Group, incidentally, not as an individual, to make this a council-wide proposition and motion. Clearly in that time, Paul, we've seen a response from the Chancellor, but I am aware that, again, in a non-partisan, cross-party way, people are pushing back for a stronger response. And therefore, I think our motion still stands in that we ask for a response or implementation. Look, governments across the years haven't done well with pension administration, either watching them not be underwritten and fail, or taxing them, or, in this case, potentially getting excessive profit from them. I think at least in this example, that level of underwriting means there is still a pension scheme that is viable, but we properly recognise it is generating surpluses that otherwise what can be done with them if the people in receipt of these pensions diminish in numbers, sadly, every year. So at least we still have a scheme to discuss. And I emphasise again, therefore, it is important that the Chancellor does respond. It was a cross-party review of the Select Committee, but I felt personally it lacked a bit of detail. It spoke of the high-level principle, which we are debating and I think we all agree with, but perhaps lacked some of that suggestion. You know, it's the discretion of the Trust, as I understand, but maybe some stronger suggestions on exactly how the 1.2 billion might be reapplied within the scheme and dispensed, and exactly how it might mitigate government from claims from other pension schemes going forward, may have perhaps made the job of the Chancellor and BEIS a little more easy in responding to it. But like I say, I still hope that they do. We're in a position of retrospect and hindsight in this regard. That it was underwritten, it still exists, I think is something to recognise. It is still important, and that 1.2 billion in the investment fund could be reapplied to certainly, as Councillor Brazier has put, very useful effect. The problems with this scheme, which again, I would hope a minister or other might learn from and or apply. There was no formal review mechanism. There still isn't. That might be one way of looking at the process. It doesn't appear still or throughout there has been any meaningful actuarial review by those with expertise to this. That could still occur and be done. And actually, I had hoped, and it sounds like Councillor Peacock, much like myself, has tried to seek out some further numbers. The report itself could have said more about the numbers still in receipt, the projections on, sorry to say, morbidity, life expectancy, and what that might do to the fund moving forward. The initial response is lacking. Our motion still stands to that effect. These are our people and our residents in our community. I know I wasn't born and bred here. I'm a very curious fusion of Warwickshire and Welsh, both of whom I think people will know are inextricably linked with coal mining and their linked industries as well. So I'm not unfamiliar to it. But those in receipt of this are, by virtue of being pensioners, in receipt of a fixed income that is determined by this debate, this discussion, and what is applied. They are, as Councillor Brazier and Councillor Peacock have said, potentially widows or widowers who may therefore not be in full receipt of a better pension that might assist them having lost their loved person. But I think crucially, perhaps distinct from some other industries that have sadly waned and no longer exist to the same extent, mining communities tend to be rural, smaller areas, now with fewer amenities to be enjoyed than perhaps was the case when they were thriving, and therefore the individuals in those communities have higher costs of transport for their basic amenities, for enjoyment and what others might be. And I think actually therefore it is more important in the case of former coal mining communities, or even those that still have some operating, that it is recognised there is a level of isolation and rurality that should be considered in the application of this, because those persons have fixed incomes but quite probably higher costs. We all understand that. We celebrate that it's a rural area, but we know that comes with difficulties for those residents in those areas. So, Madam Chairman, I'm more than happy still, and was delighted at the time, to second Councillor Peacock's motion. I'm delighted it appears to be non-partisan, and one hopes, cross-party or otherwise, there is greater success in Westminster at reflecting on this issue and responding.
Thank you, Councillor Lloyd. Can I bring you back, Councillor Peacock? You don't want to come back? Right. Can we take a vote on this motion then? All those people who are supporting it. It's a unanimous decision. Right, moving on to item number 20, we come to the minutes of the previous meetings. So first of all, we have policy and finance, and David Lloyd to present these, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm sure everybody will be delighted. I think this is the last occasion I'll have to get to my feet. It gives me discombobulated pleasure to present the minutes of the Policy and Finance Committee held here on Thursday, the 24th of June. I think I'm correct, Madam Chairman, they being pages 46 through to 59.
Thank you. If we're not going through the pages separately, does anybody have anything on any of those pages they'd like to raise? Councillor Gough.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Well, I feel strong about Seven Hills. I think it should be mentioned that I'm grateful that the council has put some generation money to that development, and it's also good for the people that looks for places to stay temporarily, and I welcome that on the agenda. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Gough. Anybody else wish to raise anything? No. Right, let's move on to Economic Development Committee on the 16th of June. Councillor Girling to present.
Thank you, Chairman. I have pleasure in presenting the Economic Development Committee meetings, pages 60 to 68, held on the 16th of June.
Thank you. And again, does anybody have anything on any of those pages that they would like to raise now with the chairman of the committee? No, we're doing well. Right, the next item, Homes and Communities. Councillor Wendell to present, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have pleasure in presenting the minutes of the Homes and Communities Committee held on Monday, the 7th of June, pages 69 to 78.
Thank you. And again, does anybody have anything to raise on the Homes and Communities Committee? No? My. Right. D. Leisure and Environment Committee. Councillor Roger Jackson to present.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I rise to present the minutes of the Leisure and Environment Committee held here at Casa House on the 22nd of June, pages 79 to 85.
Thank you. Anybody have anything to raise on this? No? Right, thank you. E and F, I think Councillor Mrs Crowe might like to bring both together, general purposes and licensing.
Thank you. I have pleasure in presenting the minutes of General Purposes Committee held on the 10th of June, pages 86 to 87, and the Licensing Committee also held on the 10th of June, page 88 to 90. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have anything to raise on these two committees? No? Right. Audit and Accounts Committee. Councillor Mrs Michael to present.
Thank you, Chairman. Before I present these minutes, I'd like to remind members on the Audit and Accounts Committee that we have a training session on Wednesday, the 21st of July, on Treasury Management from 5:30 until 6:30 in rooms F1, 2 and 3. So now it gives me great pleasure to present the minutes of the meeting held on 21st of April, pages 91 to 94 and exempt page 95. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs Michael. Does anybody have anything to ask Mrs Michael, Councillor Mrs Michael, or anything about the training that she's mentioned? No? Oh, Councillor Woodhead.
Thank you, Chairman, and congratulations on being our Vice Chair.
Thank you.
This training on the 21st of July is just for committee members, is it, or is it for any member of the council wishing to attend, please?
Councillor Mrs Michael, can you?
It is just for committee members. The idea is we have Treasury Management on the agenda on the 28th of July, and it's an opportunity for the members to ask any questions of those figures so that we get an easier run through on the 28th. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Mrs Michael. The next one, two planning committees. Councillor Blaney, you may like to do the two at once on the April meeting.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. Delighted to present the minutes of the Planning Committee held on the 27th of April, and also pages 96 to 101, and also of the Planning Committee on the 1st of June, which is the first in-person committee meeting of this council since the lockdown began last March, on pages 102 to 108.
Right, members, has anybody got any questions on planning? No? Right, perfect. Now the Councillors' Commission, Councillor Bainey again, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And it was remiss of me when I rose first this evening not to have congratulated you on being elected Vice Chairman of this Council. It gives me the opportunity as the last person to speak this evening to say that you've conducted this meeting with your typical efficiency. You've taken to the role like a duck to water. Very well done. And I therefore formally move the minutes of the Councillors' Commission held on the 28th of April, pages 109 to 110.
Councillor Lawton.
He's not the last, it's me.
We'll always get the last word.
It's remiss of me, Sue. I forgot when I was thinking about Karen, congratulate you on your appointment as Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Well, if there's nobody has any questions on Councillors' Commission, that brings us to the end of this meeting. Thank you to everyone who's taken part. Safe trip home, and we'll all meet again face to face very shortly, I'm sure. Thank you, everybody. Good night.